of that, it wasn't 22 straight years, because I think there was a 3-year stint in there about maybe 10 years ago, where I was the finance chairman when I first came to the church. But you know, Darlene didn't walk away at that point. She was the treasurer for those 3 years. So there's a great role model for servitude. Because you say you do it, you're 3 years, and then you're done. But there's somebody that sticks with it. Okay? We actually wanted to clone Darlene when she said last year that she wasn't going to do this anymore after so many years. And we asked Charlie if we could clone her. And Charlie says, no, Don, don't do that. Keeping up with one Darlene is enough. So Darlene, we'd like to thank you for all those years of service. And I tell you, her feet may not look big, but she's got big shoes to fill. So I'm going to need your support in what we're going forward with. Our theme this year for 2014 is based on the hymn, Here I Am, Lord. And as you're aware, stewardship is the combination of the financial pledges and doing service. We're going to talk today about the financial aspect, and I'm going to continue on what Paul has been talking about. The stewardship is something that we're going to be addressing next week. And one of the things we're going to do is we're going to be putting posters up around the sanctuary with, on each poster will be the name of that event, like a fundraiser, or maybe it's a committee, or maybe it's a program, like a Sunday school. And what we'd like to do is have you really think through broadening out yourself so that you can be spreading out what you do. And as Pastor Paul was talking today, it's important to try to really serve, and when you serve, you're serving in the eye of the Lord. Now, I have 2 slides I want to show you. And this slide here, generally we have not been talking much about finances. But this here is a pie chart that I asked Enid Burrows, our treasurer, to put together. And this here is the category of the different expenses. Now, I want to be very exact, because when I talked about this morning, Pastor Paul fell off the chair. He thought that when we were talking about the pastor portion up there, he thought that was his salary. He said, Don, I never got paid that much. Well, that category, which is 34%, is the total amount of money that would not be part of the budget if he disappeared. Because if he disappeared, there'd be no salary, there'd be no benefits, there'd be no parsonage expenses, there'd be no travel expenses. You put all those things together, and that is what is in that category of the pastor. So his salary is nowhere near there. Now, you probably thought you could go get that BMW you just talked about. The second category up there, coming around on a clockwise position, is all the other staff expenses. This is Pastor Murray, the choir, all those things. Then we have the conference costs and the missions, and then we go into this church. That category we're talking about church costs. That is strictly this cost, the building cost, the heat, the maintenance, all those items. So if the church didn't exist, that's what would disappear. And then you come into capital projects, and then down into committee expenses, etc. Now the committee, the program expenses, like for instance, we have fuel assistance programs, we have a lot of community-oriented costs. A lot of those don't not go through the operating budget. We're just talking here on the operating budget only. You can see the total is over $250,000, and in fact this is for 2012, and it's about $260,000. Okay, now as you go into next year, we already know that we're looking at probably another $10,000 of added costs. This is for salary adjustments, added costs for the buildings, etc. This is where the income comes from. And you can see here, the biggest portion of this is on pledged income. Now, this is the only part of this pie chart that we know most likely will be a true number. It may be a little less, it may be a little bit more. But our pledges is only 64% of what our total income is. So that means when the budget committee goes to put the budget together, we have to make a bunch of assumptions as to how many people will be writing a check who didn't pledge when they come to church. The question is, how often will they come to church? Will that amount be the same amount every time? So the problem we're having, and this has been any church has this problem, is that if the pledge percentage is low, like at 64%, it's really hard to try to figure out how many people you can have, what's the staff, what's the salary, all of these expenses. What programs can you have? So if you go around the pie chart, you can see that the 64% comes from pledged income, 17% is from non-pledged checks and donations. So if you come here, you're not pledging, and you write a check, we know that you wrote the check, and we keep track of that for the IRS purposes as required. But that's where that 17% of our income comes from. What we'd like to do is see if we can move some of that 17% down into a pledge. And then we have 8% that comes from fundraisers, rental fees when we rent out the buildings. 4% is what is in the offering plate if it's just cash. If there's no name associated with it, it goes into that section. So 4% is what we have as unidentified income. And then we have other incomes like Bible school, special purpose offerings, and also we have our envelopes. And so those are the 3 or 4% range. So the main point we're showing this is that we want to show you that we have about $250,000 plus cost, and we'd really like to see if we could move some of the other cash or non-pledge portions there over into the pledge category. Now, usually when Darlene used to be up here, she would kind of look out at you and she'd say, you know, we need more money. This year we're having a very good year. And things I want to congratulate you for doing that. Our pledge income is, of course, stable, but it's the other income that is up. And so we'd like you to really do that. And as I think I mentioned, we're looking at about $10,000 more of expenses next year than this year. So at this point, what I'd like to do is just remind you that as you leave today, if you haven't picked up your envelope at this time, out in the Northwest, we have a package for you. It's called a pledge envelope. And it's for anybody that wrote a check or put cash in an envelope and identified who they were. So this is all of the people that make up 90% of the donations that we get, is what we make pledge cards out for. So if you can pick up that, and then you could send that back to us so we could work through our pledge campaign. In the envelope, we've done some things different this year. We've got a church magnet in there for you to get there, and we have a little write-up on it that we would like you to look at. And that little magnet could be a vehicle for us to spread the word of God through the community or through relatives that live a distance away. We are a community-oriented church. Although we're under the umbrella of the Methodist Conference, our focus, besides supporting the conference, of course, is for the community. And if you look in the left side of the letter that we've written in that envelope, you see that all the ministries and all the services that we provide. This is a very important role that this church plays in this community. So to conclude on the envelope, I'd like to have you think that when you get back home and you sit down and you start to go through your bills and you decide what charity you're going to give to, etc., that you think about what you hear today. I know when I used to get that pledge, and if I hadn't gone to the service, I'd go, well, let's see, what do I do with this? And oftentimes, I would throw it in the bucket. I'd say, I'll write a check when I go, etc. But just think, what are you going to do when you get this envelope?
Boy, I get more junk mail. I get all this stuff. I think I want a new car. All they want me to do is give them my social security number. I'm going to throw that away. Now, here's a package from the church. It's probably the stewardship campaign stuff that Don Bettinger was talking about. I think I'm going to ignore it, as I've done in the past. I'll just put some money in the offering plate like I usually do. That should be good enough. I do help out at fundraisers. Let me think. Last year I helped set up some tents, and I believe I washed some dishes at a bean supper. That should be good enough for this year. I'm just going to throw this stuff away. I'll get the magnet later.
Whoa, Paul, what are you doing? Paul, what are you doing?
Hey, turn off those blinding lights over there, will you?
Sorry about that. I sometimes forget I'm talking to mere models.
That's better. Who are you? You look familiar for some reason. Have we met before?
I'm God.
Are you the same guy who did all that chiseling stuff last July?
That was me. How's that been going for you, by the way? I still have those tools.
Well, it's been going pretty good, but you look different. Have you gained some weight?
I'm here to talk about you, Paul. I think you should retrieve that campaign information and really think about what you do for our church. I know you were thinking you would do the same as last year and just toss the package in the wastebasket.
Wow, you knew what I was thinking? Oh my God, you know everything I'm thinking?
Yes, does that scare you? By the way, watch out how you use my name, please.
Oh, yes, it does scare me, and I'm sorry, but I didn't mean to use your name like that, but why are you really here?
I think you need to really think about yourself and your relationship to me and our church. The last time you were in church, you sang with vigor, and I might add a little bit off key, that hymn, Here I Am, Lord, but somehow I think you missed the point.
Well, you know, I consider myself a good Christian. I give money to the church, and I do a lot of work setting up tents and washing dishes.
I don't consider helping set up a few tents and washing dishes once, doing a whole lot of service in my name.
Well, you know, I need to know what you want me to do.
Well, do you think you're giving enough money to the church?
Yeah, I guess so.
Well, first of all, you only give when you attend. You don't make a pledge so the finance committee can plan on what income to expect, so they can determine, you know, upcoming expenses, staffing, and all the other things it costs to run a church for a year. Also, I might point out that you spend more in tips at that restaurant than you give to the church, you know, especially that cocktail waitress.
Do you mean the Cuban? Oh, okay. I didn't realize you kept records on everyone. If so, I think I'm in big trouble.
Well, no, you're not really, but I do have a general idea of what goes on in my world.
Well, I suppose I could be more consistent in my giving and make a pledge to help out with the financial planning of the church. Since you can read my thoughts, do you know what I'm thinking right now?
Yes. You are realizing that you are spending more money on golf than you give to the church.
Okay, I get the message. I'll pledge this year and increase the amount I give. But what if I can't meet this obligation? Will I be punished?
Of course not. It's your intent that counts. Remember, I'm a forgiving God when issues arise.
Are we done now? I have a tea time in about half an hour.
You keep it up. No, we're not quite done. We need to discuss the service you do in my name. Promise me that you will go to church next Sunday and sign up for some of those tasks on those sign-up posters hanging in Fellowship Hall.
Okay. I'll make a concerted effort to sign up for church functions so all the work doesn't go to just a handful of people. Since you're here, can you answer one final question?
I'll try.
Are the Red Sox going to win the World Series this year?
You never give up, do you, Paul? Now, you know I can't get involved in that area, but I can assure you that you will feel good today, especially when you reflect on our conversation.
Lynn, you're not going to believe this. I just had a conversation with God. No, I'm not kidding. Really, I did. Well, maybe it is that old stage thing that's creeping up on me.
Just to wrap up, if you have not received the envelope that we're talking about out on the narthex, if you could pick one up on your way out, and hopefully we support the program this year. When you open that envelope, let yourself talk to God.